Have you ever felt like you're pouring your heart and energy into someone, only to have it treated like a convenience, something they can take or leave as they please? It's a frustrating reality, and for many, it leads to a painful question. What happens when you decide to walk away, not out of anger or spite, but to reclaim your worth? Let's be honest, there's a dangerous misconception floating around. People often think that staying, tolerating disrespect, or giving someone endless chances is the path to proving your value. But here's the hard truth. They won't see your worth while you're still making yourself available for their games. Sometimes the only way to truly shift the dynamic is to do what's hardest: disappear. When you vanish completely, cutting yourself off like a cord snapped under tension, you send a message louder than any words could convey. It's not about revenge or manipulation, it's about respect. For yourself, for your time, for your energy. Stoicism teaches us that our power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling our own actions. And disappearing can be the most profound declaration of self-respect. In this article, we'll explore the 9 transformative emotions they feel when you simply disappear. Each one digs deeper into the human psyche, revealing not just what they feel, but why they feel it and how it changes everything. By the end, you'll not only understand the impact of your absence, but also find a renewed sense of confidence in your own worth. Ready to uncover this power? Let's dive in. 1. The shock of being cut off. Imagine their world for a moment. They've grown comfortable, maybe even complacent, with the idea that you're always there. Every text, every call, every interaction reinforces this unspoken assumption: you're available. And then one day you're not. You vanish, not with drama, but with quiet finality. What do they feel in that moment? Shock. It's not just the absence that hits them, it's the suddenness. Think about how people react to losing something they thought was guaranteed. When the safety net is pulled away, they don't just fall, they panic. Why? Because they're left with questions they can't answer. Why did you leave? Was it something they did? Are you ever coming back? These questions spiral into a discomfort they can't escape. Have you ever noticed how much people take the ordinary for granted? The sun rises every day, so we rarely stop to appreciate its warmth. You were their sun, steady, dependable, always shining, even when they ignored you. But what happens when the sun doesn't rise? Suddenly, it's the only thing they can think about. Stoicism reminds us to focus only on what we can control. And your disappearance is a powerful example of this principle in action. You're not begging them to notice you, you're stepping away and letting them feel the weight of your absence. They start to realize that the connection they once took lightly was a privilege, not a guarantee. But here's where it gets interesting. The shock isn't just about losing you, it's about losing the version of you that tolerated their games. It's the abrupt understanding that the rules have changed, and they no longer hold the power they thought they did. Think about it. When was the last time you truly asserted your worth by walking away? If the answer is never or rarely, then perhaps now is the time to consider how much control you've been giving away. What's the alternative? Staying in a dynamic where you're undervalued. Allowing someone to drain your energy without reciprocation. That's not strength, that's surrender. The first lesson of Stoicism is to master the self. And nothing is more self-empowering than breaking free from a toxic cycle. Their shock is just the beginning. It's the crack in their illusion of control, the first ripple in a wave of emotions that will only grow stronger as time passes. But here's the key. This shock isn't for them to overcome. It's for you to observe, to recognize as the first sign that you've reclaimed your power. Let them sit in it. Let them feel the sting. Because this moment is the foundation of your transformation. 2. Silence that haunts them. What is silence to you? To most people, it's just the absence of sound, a neutral, unremarkable thing. But when it comes to relationships, silence is anything but neutral. It's an echo, a void, a force that magnifies everything left unsaid. When you disappear from their life, silence becomes the most powerful weapon you never meant to wield. Think about it. They reach for their phone to text you. Maybe it's out of habit, maybe out of boredom, or maybe because they suddenly feel an inexplicable need to connect. But instead of your reply lighting up their screen, there's nothing. No notification, no reaction, just an empty inbox staring back at them. That silence, that emptiness, it doesn't just exist. It speaks. And what it says is louder than any words you could ever use. Have you ever noticed how people react to being ignored? They may act indifferent on the surface, but inside, it eats at them. Your silence haunts them because it forces them to face something they've been avoiding. Your absence. While you were around, they could take your presence for granted, thinking you'd always be there no matter what. But now, your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back every way they've neglected or mistreated you. And here's the thing, they can't escape it. Silence follows them everywhere. In their quiet moments, it creeps into their thoughts. Every time they see something that reminds them of you, the void becomes even more unbearable. Stoicism teaches us to be comfortable with silence, to embrace it as a tool for self-reflection and growth. But for them, silence is anything but comfortable. It's a wound that festers with every passing day. Ask yourself this: why does silence have so much power? The answer lies in how deeply humans crave connection. When someone who once had your attention no longer hears from you, it feels like being shut out of a world they used to be part of. It creates a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. They'll try to fill it with distractions, social media, new people, anything to avoid the gnawing emptiness. But no matter what they do, nothing feels quite the same. Why? Because what they truly want isn't just anyone's attention, it's yours. Picture this: a person scrolling through their phone, desperate to find traces of you. Old messages, shared photos, mutual friends' posts. They're looking for something, anything, that proves you're still reachable. But all they find is silence. Do you think they expected this? Of course not. They thought they could keep treating you like an afterthought without consequence. Your silence is the consequence they never saw coming. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you let your absence speak louder than your words? We often think we need to explain ourselves, to make our feelings known, to demand respect through confrontation. But Stoicism reminds us that our power doesn't lie in forcing others to understand us. It lies in our ability to detach, to choose silence over noise when words would only diminish our message. Their haunting silence is a product of your self-respect. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about showing, not telling, that you've moved on from being their option. And that's what stings the most. They're left with no way to gauge where you stand, no clues to piece together a sense of control. It's unsettling. It's disorienting. It's maddening. Silence also invites questions they may not be ready to answer. Why did they leave? Did I do something wrong? Was it my fault? These questions eat away at their confidence because they have no one to blame but themselves. Unlike a fight where words can be exchanged and fault deflected, silence offers no such outlet. It holds a mirror to their actions, forcing them to confront the choices that drove you away. But here's the twist. While silence is torturous for them, it's liberating for you. In the quiet, you're reclaiming your energy, your peace, your power. You're no longer tied to their games, their whims, their inconsistency. You're using silence not as a weapon, but as a shield, a way to protect yourself from further harm and to create space for your own growth. Isn't that what Stoicism is all about? Taking ownership of what you can control, your actions, your reactions, your focus, and letting go of the rest. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. Disappearing isn't easy. Silence can be just as challenging for you as it is for them, especially if you're used to being the one who always reaches out, who smooths things over, who tries to make things right. But the beauty of silence lies in its discipline. It teaches you patience. It reminds you that your worth isn't tied to someone else's acknowledgement. And most importantly, it proves that you're capable of standing on your own. So what happens next? As the silence stretches on, their thoughts begin to spiral. What are you doing? Who are you with? Are you happier without them? These questions consume them, but they have no way to find the answers. They might try to provoke a reaction, liking an old post, sending a just checking in message, even staging a dramatic apology. But the more you stay silent, the more they're forced to confront the reality they've been avoiding. They no longer have access to you. And isn't that the ultimate power shift? While they're stuck in a loop of regret and curiosity, you're moving forward. You're building a life free from their games, focused on your own growth and happiness. This isn't about revenge, it's about reclaiming your peace. And in doing so, you're teaching them the lesson they refused to learn while you were still there. So here's the challenge for you. Embrace the silence. Let it speak for you. Use it as a tool to create space for the life you deserve. And while you're at it, take a moment to affirm this truth. I am worth more than words can express. My silence is not weakness, it's strength. If this resonates with you, show some love, like this video and comment number 1 below to let us know you're ready to embrace this powerful step. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another chance to build your strength and reclaim your worth. Together, we'll continue this journey of Stoic self-mastery, one step at a time. 3. Forced to face their own mistakes. When you disappear, you don't just leave a void, they're left to face a mirror. For the first time without you around to soften the blow or offer understanding, they're forced to confront the unfiltered truth of their own behavior. This moment of reckoning is perhaps one of the hardest for them, and yet it's the natural consequence of the choices they made when they had you in their life. Think about it. While you were present, how often did they brush off your kindness? How many times did they ignore your messages, cancel plans, or treat your feelings as an afterthought? For them, those moments may have seemed insignificant at the time, little slips they assumed you'd tolerate. But now, in the silence of your absence, every one of those choices comes rushing back to haunt them. What once felt trivial now carries a crushing weight. Why does this happen? It's simple. Without you there to explain, to comfort, to forgive, they're left alone with their memories. And memories don't lie. Every dismissive comment, every time they took you for granted, becomes a brick in the wall they built between themselves and their peace. That wall is their doing, and for the first time they can't escape it. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for people to shift blame when they have someone to argue with? As long as you were there, they could convince themselves that you were the problem, that you were too needy, too sensitive, too demanding. But now that you're gone, there's no one left to project onto. The silence forces them to look inward, and what they see isn't pretty. Stoicism teaches us to take responsibility for our own actions and to accept the consequences of our choices. This is a lesson they're now learning the hard way. They can't change the past, but the weight of their mistakes presses down on them, making them wish they could. Regret is a powerful teacher, but it's also a painful one. For them, every quiet moment is a reminder of the chances they didn't take, the apologies they didn't make, the love they didn't fully give. Can you imagine what that feels like? To sit with the knowledge that you had something extraordinary and let it slip away. They might try to distract themselves, to drown out the regret with noise or new connections, but deep down the truth remains. They had you, someone who showed up, who cared, who gave them their best, and they let you down. That's a bitter pill to swallow. There's an irony here, isn't there? When you were around, they probably acted as though they had all the time in the world to do better. They didn't feel the urgency to change or to cherish what they had because they assumed you weren't going anywhere. But now that you're gone, time becomes their enemy. Every day without you is a day they can't get back, and every moment they spend regretting is one they could have used to value you when they had the chance. This is where the pain of self-reflection cuts the deepest. They start to replay your interactions, searching for signs of where they went wrong. Did they ignore the warning signs? Did they push you too far? Could they have done something differently? These questions circle in their mind like vultures, picking apart their pride until there's nothing left but raw vulnerability. But here's the key to understanding this part of the journey. Their realization isn't about you. It's about them. Your absence acts as a catalyst, but the reflection they face is entirely their own. They're not just mourning the loss of you, They're mourning the version of themselves that failed to appreciate you. And that's a pain they can't simply wish away. This reckoning, this forced confrontation with their own mistakes, is one of the most transformative stages of your disappearance. For you, it's a chance to see their true colors. How do they handle the weight of their choices? Do they take accountability or do they crumble under the pressure? This isn't about holding out for their growth, it's about recognizing your own. And for them, this moment is pivotal. Will they learn from it? Will they use this pain as fuel to become better, to treat future connections with the care and respect they deserve? Or will they stay trapped in the cycle of regret, unable to move forward? That's their choice, and one you don't need to concern yourself with. Stoicism reminds us to focus only on what's within our control, and their growth, or lack thereof, is not your responsibility. This is where the beauty of your decision to walk away truly shines. By leaving, you're not just taking back your power, you're giving them the space to face their own. Whether they rise to the occasion or not is up to them, but your absence ensures that they can no longer avoid the truth of their actions. For you, this is a moment of liberation. You've freed yourself from the cycle of overgiving and under-receiving. You've chosen to prioritize your own peace and growth, stepping away from a dynamic that no longer served you. And in doing so, you've created an opportunity for reflection, not just for them, but for yourself. Let this be a reminder of your strength. It's not easy to walk away, especially when you care deeply. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is to let go. Your absence isn't a punishment, it's a declaration of self-respect. And in that silence, you've given them the gift of truth, whether they're ready to receive it or not. As they sit with their mistakes, you're free to move forward. Free to invest your time and energy into people and pursuits that value you. Free to embrace the Stoic philosophy of focusing on your inner world rather than seeking validation from the external. This is your power, and it's a power no one can take away. 4. A hollow space they can't fill. What happens when something you've always relied on suddenly disappears? For them, your absence creates a hollow space, a void so vast that no amount of distractions or replacements can make it go away. And the worst part, they never saw it coming. They thought you were permanent, that you'd always be there no matter how they treated you. Now they're left grappling with the reality of what it means to lose someone who brought light, warmth, and connection to their life. Let's be real, human beings are creatures of habit. They become used to the comfort of things being consistent. Your presence wasn't just part of their routine, it was something they depended on, often without even realizing it. You were the one who brought energy to their dull moments, who reached out when they were too self-absorbed to notice you needed connection, who made an effort when they couldn't even be bothered to reciprocate. And now, that steady, unwavering presence is gone. What do you think happens when people lose something they took for granted? At first, they might not fully register it. They might tell themselves it's no big deal, that they can move on without you. But over time, the hollow space you left starts to grow. It creeps into their thoughts, invades their quiet moments, and becomes impossible to ignore. Every time they try to distract themselves, whether it's by scrolling through social media, diving into work, or seeking attention elsewhere, they're reminded of what's missing: you. Stoicism teaches us to recognize the impermanence of things, to understand that nothing in life is guaranteed. But they didn't live by this philosophy. They assumed you'd always be there, no matter how little they gave in return. And now, that assumption is costing them. The hollow space isn't just about missing you, it's about realizing the depth of what they've lost. It's about understanding that you weren't just another person in their life, you were the person who made their life brighter. Imagine them trying to fill that void. They might try to surround themselves with new people, hoping to recreate the connection they had with you. They might throw themselves into activities or conversations, chasing distractions that only provide temporary relief. But here's the truth: nothing works. Why? Because the space you left isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's tied to the unique energy and love you brought into their life. something they'll never find anywhere else. Have you ever thought about what makes you irreplaceable? It's not just your actions, it's the way you made them feel. You were the one who showed up, who cared deeply, who gave your all. And now that you're gone, they're left with the cold reality of how much they relied on you to bring warmth and meaning to their world. Without you, it's like the air has been sucked out of the room. They might not admit it out loud, but they're gasping for something to fill the emptiness. This hollow space also becomes a constant reminder of their own failures. They're forced to confront every moment they ignored your efforts, every time they treated your kindness like a given instead of a gift. It's a haunting feeling, one that grows stronger with each passing day. And as much as they might try to run from it, the truth is inescapable. They let something extraordinary slip through their fingers. The beauty of this situation is that you don't have to do a thing. The void you left is enough. Your absence speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. It reminds them that you were the one who brought value, who gave meaning, who showed them what it means to truly care. And now, all they have are memories and regrets. Stoicism tells us to focus on what we can control, and in this case, you've done exactly that. By stepping away, you've reclaimed your power and left them to face the consequences of their actions. As they sit with this emptiness, something else starts to happen. They begin to compare. They look at the people around them and realize that no one measures up to what you brought into their life. The laughter doesn't feel as genuine, the conversations lack depth, and the connections feel shallow. They start to see just how rare and valuable your presence was, and that realization, it cuts deep. Let me ask you this: what's more powerful than showing someone they can't replace you? Not through words, not through arguments, but through the undeniable truth of your absence. It's a reminder that you were never just an option, a backup, or a convenience. You were the source of something they didn't fully appreciate until it was gone. And now they're left with a hollow space they can't ignore and certainly can't fill. This is where your strength shines. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your decision to walk away. The emptiness they feel is proof enough that your presence mattered, that your energy was unique, and that your value is undeniable. You've shown them, without a single word, that losing you was their loss. And it's a loss they'll feel every day. If you've ever doubted your power, let this be your reminder. You are irreplaceable. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's ability to see it. It's defined by your decision to stand in your truth, to demand respect, and to walk away from anything that doesn't honor your value. That hollow space they feel, it's a testament to the light you brought into their life and the darkness they're left with now. So, let's take a moment to reflect. Think about the space you're creating by stepping away, not just in their life, but in your own. You're clearing room for new opportunities, new connections, and new growth. You're choosing to invest your energy where it's valued, not where it's wasted. And that choice? It's the ultimate act of self-respect. If this resonates with you, show your support. Like this video and comment number 1 below to affirm your commitment to standing in your worth. Don't forget to subscribe so we can continue this journey of strength, stoicism, and self-mastery together. You deserve nothing less than the best, and it all starts with reclaiming your power. 5. Curiosity turns into obsession. Curiosity is a strange thing. It starts as a quiet whisper, a small question in the back of the mind. What are they doing? Why haven't I heard from them? At first, they brush it off, convincing themselves it's no big deal. But as time goes on, that whisper grows louder. The absence of answers becomes unbearable, and curiosity transforms into something much more consuming. Obsession. When you disappear, you create a mystery they can't solve. It's human nature to crave closure, to want to understand why something happened. And yet your silence offers no explanations, no breadcrumbs to follow, no closure to grasp onto. This leaves them in a state of constant questioning. Every moment of quiet becomes an opportunity for their mind to wander, spiraling through scenarios and possibilities they can't control. What fuels this obsession? The unknown. They were used to having access to you, to knowing what you were up to, even in the most casual ways. Maybe it was through texts, social media posts, or shared routines. These small windows into your life gave them a sense of security, even if they didn't realize it at the time. But now, those windows are closed and they're left on the outside looking in. Picture this. They scroll through their phone, hoping to find traces of you, an old photo, a message thread, a comment on a mutual friend's post. They're searching for something, anything, that might give them a clue about where you've gone and what you're doing. But all they find is silence, and that silence breeds more questions. Have they moved on? Are they happier without me? Are they seeing someone else? Obsession is born from this lack of control. While you were in their life, they may have acted indifferent, as though your presence wasn't significant. But now that you've taken that presence away, they're confronted with the reality of how much they depended on it. The more they try to ignore it, the stronger it grows. Every unanswered question becomes a thread they can't stop pulling, unraveling their composure bit by bit. Let's take a moment to reflect on why this happens. When someone treats you like an afterthought, it's not because they don't care. It's because they assume you'll always be there. Your disappearance shatters that assumption. It forces them to reevaluate everything they believed about your relationship, and that reevaluation is where the obsession begins. They're no longer in control of the narrative. You are. Stoicism teaches us to detach from things we cannot control, to find peace in letting go of what doesn't serve us. But for them, detachment is impossible. They're clinging to the memory of you, trying to piece together a story that makes sense. Yet every attempt only deepens the mystery. The harder they try to figure you out, the further you slip from their grasp. And that's what drives them mad. This obsession isn't just about missing you, it's about missing the certainty they once had. They start to replay every interaction, analyzing your words and actions for hidden meanings they might have overlooked. Did you seem distant before you left? Were there signs they missed? These questions become an endless loop, trapping them in a cycle of overthinking and self-doubt. The beauty of this situation is that you don't have to do anything. By removing yourself from their life, you've already taken the most powerful step. Their obsession is a reflection of their own insecurities, their own inability to let go. While they're consumed by questions and hypotheticals, you're free to focus on your own growth, your own peace. That's the power of Stoicism in action. You've mastered your emotions while they're still trying to make sense of theirs. But let's not mistake their obsession for genuine care or regret. Often it's not about you as a person. It's about the role you played in their life. You were their anchor, their source of comfort and validation. Now that you're gone, they're left adrift, and their obsession is a desperate attempt to regain that stability. They're not necessarily longing for you, they're longing for what you provided. Have you ever noticed how people often want what they can't have? Your disappearance transforms you into something they can't attain, and that unattainability makes you all the more alluring. They start to idealize you, remembering only the best parts of your relationship while conveniently forgetting the ways they hurt or undervalued you. This selective memory fuels their obsession, making it harder for them to move on. But here's where your power lies. You don't have to engage. Their obsession doesn't obligate you to return or explain yourself. In fact, staying silent reinforces the lesson they need to learn. It shows them that your worth isn't tied to their perception of you, that you're not waiting on their validation. You've chosen to walk away, not to punish them, but to honor yourself. As their obsession deepens, they might try to reach out through messages, through mutual friends, or even through indirect gestures like liking your old posts. These attempts are their way of testing the waters, hoping to draw you back into their orbit. But remember, their curiosity and obsession are not your responsibility. Your decision to disappear wasn't about them, it was about reclaiming your power. So what happens next? Eventually, they'll have to confront the fact that they can't control you, can't manipulate you back into their life. This realization is where true growth can begin, for them if they're willing to face it, and for you as you continue to move forward. The space you've created by walking away isn't just a void in their life, It's an opportunity for both of you to grow, to reflect, and to redefine what you truly want from your connections. Your silence speaks volumes. It says without a single word that you know your worth. And as their curiosity turns into obsession, they're left with no choice but to face the reality of what they've lost. For you, this is a moment of empowerment. For them, it's a lesson they'll never forget. 6. Regret eats at their pride. Regret is a slow, consuming force. It doesn't strike all at once, but rather creeps in piece by piece until it wraps itself around everything they once thought was secure. When you disappear, regret becomes their unwelcome companion, whispering reminders of all the chances they wasted, all the times they dismissed you, and all the ways they took you for granted. But perhaps the most painful aspect of regret is how it collides with pride, breaking it down layer by layer until they can no longer ignore the truth. Let's take a closer look at what happens when regret sets in. At first, they might try to brush it off. After all, their pride tells them they don't need you. They may convince themselves that they'll be fine, that life will carry on as if nothing happened. But pride is fragile, and regret has a way of chipping away at it until even the strongest facade begins to crumble. Why does this happen? Because regret doesn't just highlight what they lost, it forces them to see their own role in it. Every dismissive comment, every missed opportunity to show you care, every moment of neglect becomes a sharp thorn in their mind. These memories haunt them, replaying over and over, reminding them of the person they were when they had you and the person they became once you left. Stoicism teaches us to confront uncomfortable truths with courage and honesty, but regret is a truth they're not prepared to face. It's easier to blame others, to rationalize their behavior, or to bury their feelings in distractions. But now, with you gone, there's no one to shift the blame onto. The silence you've left forces them to sit with their actions, and their pride begins to falter under the weight of that realization. Have you ever wondered what it feels like for someone to see their reflection clearly for the first time? It's not an easy experience. For them, this reflection is tainted with all the moments they failed to appreciate you, the times they let their ego override their ability to truly connect. Regret makes them ask the questions they tried so hard to avoid. Why did I push them away? Was it worth it? Could I have done something differently? As the regret deepens, it starts to eat away at their confidence. Pride might have made them feel untouchable before, like they could treat you however they pleased without consequence. But now that pride becomes their prison, they're stuck in a cycle of second-guessing, replaying every interaction, and wondering how they let someone as irreplaceable as you slip through their fingers. What makes this process even more powerful is your silence. You're not there to reassure them, to offer forgiveness, or to soften the blow. Your absence amplifies their regret, leaving them alone with their thoughts and the reality of what they've lost. It's a stark contrast to the dynamic they were used to, a dynamic where they could rely on you to bridge the gap, to fix things, to make the effort. Now they're the ones feeling the sting of inaction. Regret and pride are like oil and water. They don't mix easily. Pride tries to protect them from fully admitting their mistakes, while regret relentlessly exposes those mistakes for what they are. This internal conflict creates a storm within them, a storm they can't escape, no matter how hard they try. They might tell themselves they're better off without you, but deep down they know that's a lie. The truth is, their pride cost them something precious, and regret is the proof they can't deny. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen someone truly humbled by regret? It's a transformative experience, but it's also a painful one. For them, every reminder of you, a photo, a song, a shared memory, becomes a trigger. These reminders don't just bring up feelings of loss, they force them to confront the choices they made when they had you. And as those reminders pile up, their pride begins to crack under the pressure. Here's the beauty of this moment. You don't have to lift a finger. Their regret is entirely their own to carry, and their pride is no longer your concern. This is what Stoicism is all about, focusing on what you can control yourself and releasing what you cannot, them. You've stepped away, not out of malice, but out of self-respect. And in doing so, you've given them the space to face their own reality. But let's not mistake their regret for growth. Feeling regret doesn't automatically mean they'll change. It's possible they'll stay stuck in the cycle of regret and pride, unable to move forward or make amends. That's not your responsibility to fix. Your decision to walk away wasn't about teaching them a lesson. It was about valuing yourself enough to leave behind a situation that no longer served you. For them, the regret they feel is a testament to your worth. It's proof that you mattered, that your presence brought value to their life, even if they didn't see it at the time. And for you, this is a moment of liberation. Their regret is their burden, not yours. You've chosen to focus on your own growth, your own peace, and your own journey, a choice that reflects the core principles of Stoicism. As their pride crumbles and their regret deepens, they're left with a choice: to stay stuck in their mistakes or to rise above them. But whatever they choose, remember this: you've already made your choice. You've chosen yourself. You've chosen to walk away from the cycle of giving without receiving, from being taken for granted, from allowing someone else's behavior to dictate your worth. If this resonates with you, take a moment to affirm your strength. Like this video and comment number 1 below if you're ready to stand in your worth and let their regret speak for itself. Don't forget to subscribe so you can continue this journey of self-respect, stoicism, and personal growth. You're not just walking away, you're stepping into your power, and the best is yet to come. 7. The fear that breaks them. Fear has a way of creeping in when the walls they built around their pride and ego begin to crumble. It starts as a small, nagging thought, but soon it becomes an all-consuming force they can't ignore. When you disappear completely, their world shifts in ways they never anticipated, and the fear of losing you for good becomes their breaking point. At first, they may have tried to rationalize your absence, telling themselves it was temporary or insignificant. But as time stretches on and your silence remains unbroken, that certainty they once clung to begins to unravel. What if this isn't just a phase? What if you're really gone? These questions fuel a growing dread that gnaws at them day and night. This fear isn't just about losing you, it's about the finality of it. They start to realize that your disappearance isn't like the fights or misunderstandings they've weathered before. This isn't a pause or a momentary distance. This feels different, and it forces them to confront the possibility that there's no going back. The fear breaks them because it strips away the illusion that they had all the time in the world to fix things, to make amends, to start appreciating you. That time has run out. Let's dig deeper into why this fear hits so hard. For many people, it's not just the loss of a person that hurts, it's the loss of the version of themselves they were with that person. When you were in their life, you brought stability, warmth, and a sense of belonging. Losing you doesn't just mean losing your presence, it means losing the comfort and security they felt when they were with you. And now, without you, they're forced to face their own emptiness. Stoicism reminds us to embrace impermanence, to accept that nothing lasts forever. But for them, this reality is terrifying. They lived as though your presence was guaranteed, as though they could take without giving, push without consequence, and you'd still be there. Now they're forced to see the truth. Nothing and no one is permanent. And that truth shakes them to their core. Have you ever considered what it means for someone to imagine a future without you? The thought alone is enough to send them spiraling. They start to picture their life without the energy and care you brought, and the image is bleak. They might imagine you with someone else, someone who values you in ways they never did. And the jealousy and regret that follows is unbearable. This fear isn't just emotional, it's physical. It grips them, keeps them awake at night, and distracts them from everything else. As the fear deepens, they begin to grasp the magnitude of their mistake. Losing you isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a seismic shift that affects every aspect of their life. They thought they could replace you, that someone else could fill the gap you left, but now they know better. You weren't just anyone. You were someone unique, someone irreplaceable, and the void you left behind only confirms that. But here's the twist. This fear doesn't necessarily lead to action. Fear is paralyzing, and for many it keeps them stuck. They may want to reach out to apologize, to beg for a second chance, but the same pride that allowed them to take you for granted now holds them back. They're torn between their desire to fix things and their fear of rejection, of hearing you say that it's too late. This internal conflict is where the breaking point happens. They're forced to sit with the reality of their actions, to confront the choices that led to this moment. And while Stoicism teaches us to embrace accountability, to learn from our mistakes, they may not be ready to face that challenge. For them, this fear becomes a cycle, one they may not know how to escape. Meanwhile, you're moving forward. The fear that consumes them doesn't touch you because you've chosen a different path. You've chosen to focus on your own growth, your own peace, and your own journey. Their fear is a reflection of the power you hold, the value you bring, and the void they feel in your absence. But it's not your burden to carry. Here's the beauty of this moment. You didn't have to force this realization. By disappearing, you allowed them to face themselves, to sit with their own feelings, and to grapple with the consequences of their behavior. This fear they feel is the natural result of your decision to walk away, not out of anger or manipulation, but out of self-respect. So what happens next? That's entirely up to them. They may stay stuck in this fear, unable to take the steps needed to grow. Or they may use this fear as a wake-up call, a catalyst for change. But whatever they choose, it's not your responsibility. Your journey isn't tied to their progress or lack thereof. You've already taken the most important step, reclaiming your power and choosing yourself. As they sit with this fear, one thing becomes clear. They underestimated you. They thought they could take you for granted, that you'd always be there, no matter what. But now they see the truth. You're stronger than they realized, more valuable than they gave you credit for, and completely capable of walking away when your worth isn't recognized. This fear isn't just about losing you, it's about realizing what they've lost in themselves. And that's a lesson they'll carry long after the silence has settled. For you, it's a reminder of the strength you hold, the value you bring, and the power of walking away when a situation no longer serves you. And that is a strength no fear can touch. 8. An urge to win you back. When someone feels the sting of losing you, regret and fear often morph into something stronger, a desperate urge to win you back. It's not just a fleeting thought, it becomes a driving force, a relentless need to undo the damage and bring you back into their life. They thought they had time. They thought you'd always be there. But now your absence has shown them otherwise, and it's a reality they're not ready to accept. This urge to win you back isn't always born from pure intentions. Often it stems from panic. They feel the hollow space you left, the silence that echoes louder than words, and they're consumed by the fear of losing you for good. They don't want to imagine a life where someone else gets the version of you they took for granted. And that fear, it lights a fire under them. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly seem to realize your worth when you're no longer within their reach? While you were there, showing up, giving your energy and effort, they didn't have to fight for you. But now, with your absence staring them in the face, they're left scrambling, desperate to prove they can change. And the harder they try, the clearer it becomes. They've finally understood the depth of their mistake. This urge often reveals itself in different ways. Some might bombard you with messages, apologies, explanations, promises to do better. They tell you everything they think you want to hear, hoping that their words will be enough to erase the past. But Stoicism reminds us to look beyond words and examine actions. Promises are easy to make, but what do they really mean without genuine effort behind them? Others might take a more indirect approach. They'll test the waters, liking your old posts or commenting on mutual friends' updates, hoping to catch your attention without risking outright rejection. They might even try to appear nonchalant, pretending they're thriving without you, all the while hoping you'll notice and make the first move. But deep down, this is their way of trying to regain a foothold in your life without confronting the full weight of their actions. Some will go even further, making grand gestures to show they've changed. Maybe they suddenly show up where they know you'll be, trying to recreate the connection they let slip away. Or perhaps they flood your inbox with declarations of how much they miss you and how they can't imagine life without you. But here's the question you need to ask. Is this genuine, or is it driven by fear and desperation? The truth is, this urge to win you back is less about you and more about them. They're not just mourning the loss of your presence, they're mourning the loss of the certainty and comfort you provided. Your absence forces them to see what life is like without you, and it's not a reality they want to accept. But Stoicism teaches us that true change doesn't come from desperation, it comes from reflection, accountability, and a commitment to growth. This is why it's so important to recognize the difference between genuine change and empty promises. Desperation often drives people to say and do whatever it takes to regain control, but words alone are not enough. True transformation requires time, effort, and consistency. Without those, their urge to win you back is just a reaction to the pain they feel, not a sign of real growth. Here's where your power lies. You're no longer in their orbit, no longer caught in the cycle of giving more than you receive. Their urge to win you back doesn't have to sway you or pull you back into a dynamic that no longer serves you. You've already chosen to walk away, not out of anger or revenge, but out of self-respect. And that choice is what gives you the clarity to see their actions for what they truly are. As they scramble to reconnect with you, their efforts might seem heartfelt, even overwhelming. But Stoicism reminds us to stay grounded, to focus on what aligns with our values and growth. Just because someone wants you back doesn't mean you owe them another chance. Their regret, their fear, their urgency, it's theirs to carry, not yours. This urge to win you back is also a reflection of your worth. It's proof that your presence mattered, that you brought something unique and irreplaceable into their life. But you don't need their validation to know your value. The fact that you were strong enough to walk away speaks volumes about your inner strength and self-awareness. Let me ask you this: what do you truly want? If the answer is peace, growth, and a life filled with mutual respect, then the decision to move forward is already clear. Their urge to win you back may feel powerful in the moment, but it's not a reason to compromise your standards or settle for less than you deserve. As they wrestle with their emotions and try to pull you back, remember that their desperation is not your responsibility. You've already done the hard work of choosing yourself, of stepping away from a situation that didn't honor your worth. And in doing so, you've created space for something better, whether that's personal growth, new opportunities, or connections that truly value who you are. If this resonates with you, like this video and comment number 1 below to affirm your decision to stand in your worth and not be swayed by desperation. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into reclaiming your power, living with Stoicism, and building a life that reflects your true value. You're not just walking away, you're walking towards something extraordinary, and that's a path worth celebrating. 9. The dynamic flips. You hold the power. When you disappear, something remarkable happens. The balance of power that once tilted so heavily in their favor begins to shift. Slowly but surely the dynamic flips. Where you once may have felt like the one giving more, caring more, and trying harder, now they're the ones left chasing, questioning, and longing. The moment you choose to walk away, you reclaim the power they thought they held over you. Think about this for a moment. When you were there, they likely assumed your presence was guaranteed. They grew comfortable, even complacent, in the belief that no matter how little effort they put in, you'd stay. But your decision to leave dismantles that illusion completely. Suddenly, they're no longer in control of the narrative. They're no longer the center of your attention. And that realization is a shock to their system. The beauty of this shift is that it doesn't come from manipulation or games. It comes from the simple act of prioritizing yourself. By walking away, you've drawn a clear line, one that says, I am no longer willing to settle for less than I deserve. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and this is exactly what you've done. You've let go of the need to fix, to explain, or to plead, and in doing so, you've taken back your power. What happens next is fascinating. They begin to see you in a different light. The person they once undervalued now becomes a mystery, an enigma they can't quite figure out. Your absence forces them to confront the reality of your worth. They start to replay the times they ignored you, the moments they took you for granted, and the opportunities they missed to show you the care and respect you deserved. And with every passing day, your silence speaks louder than any words could. This shift in power isn't about revenge, it's about self-respect. You're no longer the one waiting for their attention or hoping for their validation. You've freed yourself from that dynamic entirely. And as you step into your own power, they're left feeling unmoored, grappling with the void you've left behind. Let me ask you this. What does it feel like to stand in your power? It's not about arrogance or superiority. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it. It's about recognizing that you bring value to every relationship, and that value isn't contingent on someone else's ability to see it. By walking away, you've shown that your worth isn't negotiable. As the dynamic flips, they find themselves in unfamiliar territory. They're used to you being the one who reaches out, who bridges the gap, who makes the effort. But now, the roles are reversed. They're the ones left wondering if you'll ever return, if they've lost their chance for good. They're the ones feeling the sting of uncertainty, the weight of regret, and the ache of longing. What's important to remember is that this shift isn't about punishing them, it's about empowering you. Stoicism reminds us that true strength comes from within, from our ability to stay grounded in our values and choices. By stepping away, you're not just reclaiming your power, you're setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated. You're creating space for relationships that honor your worth and align with your growth. The flip dynamic also serves as a lesson for them. They begin to understand that you were never just an option or a convenience. You were someone who brought light, care, and connection to their life. And now, without you, they're forced to confront the emptiness they feel. This isn't just about missing your presence, it's about realizing how much they relied on it and how deeply they undervalued it. But here's the most powerful part. You don't need to do anything to maintain this shift. Your absence is enough. The dynamic flips not because you demand it, but because you've chosen to step into your own power. And as they struggle to adjust, you're free to focus on yourself, your growth, your peace, your happiness. This flipped dynamic is a reminder that you're not defined by someone else's perception of you. You hold the power to choose who gets to be in your life and under what terms. And by walking away from anything that doesn't serve you, you've proven that your worth is non-negotiable. So as they wrestle with the new reality of your absence, take a moment to affirm your strength. You've turned the dynamic on its head, not through force or manipulation, but through the quiet, powerful act of choosing yourself. And in that choice, you've reclaimed the power you always had. It was simply waiting for you to recognize it. The journey of disappearing and reclaiming your power is not about revenge, manipulation, or teaching someone a lesson. It's about stepping into your own worth, embracing your strength, and choosing a life that aligns with the respect and value you deserve. Each emotion they experience, shock, regret, obsession, and the hollow void of your absence, reflects the impact you had in their life. But the most important takeaway, this journey is ultimately about you. When you walk away, you're not just leaving behind a person or a situation, you're leaving behind old patterns that no longer serve you. You're breaking free from the need for external validation and stepping into a space where your worth is defined by you. That's the essence of Stoicism. Focusing on what you can control, your actions, your reactions, your growth, and letting go of everything else. As they sit with their emotions, their realizations, and their regret, remember this. Their journey is theirs to take. Whether they learn from it or remain stuck is no longer your burden to bear. You've done the hard work of choosing yourself, of walking away from something that drained your energy, and of creating space for something better. That's a victory in itself. But what about you? What does the next chapter of your life look like now that you've reclaimed your power? It's a chance to focus on your growth, your peace, and your happiness. It's an opportunity to surround yourself with people who see your value, not as a second thought, but as something precious and irreplaceable. And most importantly, it's a chance to live a life that reflects your worth in every way. So here's my final challenge to you. Hold on to this power. Don't let it slip away in moments of doubt or nostalgia. Remember why you walked away and let that memory guide you toward the life you deserve. Every step you take forward is a declaration of your strength, your self-respect, and your unwavering commitment to living authentically. Thank you for being part of this journey. If this message resonated with you, take it with you as a reminder of your power and your worth. Keep rising, keep growing, and keep shining. The best is yet to come, and you're more than ready to embrace it.